Good evening. Good evening, and thank you for joining us here as we got some volume. Thank you. As we celebrate the opening of our Founders Room. This comes just a couple of years after our firm's 175th birthday 2 years ago, and at the time, our partner Bill Kroger sent a note to Secretary Baker and me suggesting that with all the resources we had in our history, that we do something to memorialize this on a permanent basis. And when you have a chance to visit with it, I hope you are as pleased as I am for what it celebrates and memorializes. It is so good to see not just many of our current partners and staff here. It is just wonderful to see our retired partners, all of whom on whose shoulders we stand and all the work that they've done. And they worked and stood on the shoulders of others. This is a firm that, as I said, has celebrated 2 years ago our 175th birthday. When you spend some time in the room, I think what you will see, beyond the really interesting people and things that you remember or you remember someone telling you about that they remembered, is you will see that it really reflects the reason why we're still here after 175 or 177 years. What's in this room reflects the core values that have kept our firm together and will keep its firm together in the future. We spent a lot of time thinking about this just 2 years ago on our 175th. We did more than just have a party. We thought about the values that brought us together and kept us together and will keep us together in the future. Those core values of professional excellence, of integrity, of teamwork, and collegiality, and of service to the community are reflected in the stories there, and they continue to be our North Star in everything that we do. We're here because we've adhered to them, and it's the reason why we will be here tomorrow. It is important to recognize, though, that this is not a static picture of what has come before, but it is a living, not just interactive, but it will be a living and continue to be adapted room that reflects the firm. We have so many materials here. Almost all of it is about a period before the last, let's say, 25 years. But even in the last 25 years of history of this firm, so much has happened. And as you come back in the future, look for the materials to be shifted around slightly, because we'll be focusing not just on what happened 175 years ago, but what has happened in the last 25 years. And I'm confident that when people come into this room at our 200th birthday, they will see lots of interesting things and important contributions that this firm has made in all of the communities all over the globe that will have occurred not even just yet. I'm very pleased, and I need to thank a couple of people before I introduce Secretary Baker, who has graciously agreed to make some remarks. I mentioned first and foremost Bill Kroger. His contribution to this has been absolutely remarkable, and I know Bill is out here somewhere in the crowd. I can't possibly thank everybody, and not everyone is going to be standing right here. But I do want to mention a couple of people before I go further. Our Chief Administrative Officer, Mark White, has worked tirelessly on this. Our Houston librarian, Bob Downey, has worked tirelessly on this. And I also want to especially call out the work as well of our Chief Knowledge Officer, Tracy Hallenberger. Tracy was here when we ran through some of this for the staff earlier today. Tracy is not here tonight. She's gone off to attend the conference, but her parents are here. And I really appreciate if you raise your hand We're really appreciating it. I also want to thank Gensler for design of the Founders Room, and Balfour Beatty for the construction, Tim Connolly for Fenwick Publishing for the digital content, and Jack Aby with MFAH for the design and installation of the non-digital content. When we cut the cord and you cut the ribbon and you see how beautiful it is, I know that you will be thankful too. So for all of them, please a round of applause. There is no better perk that, and this job is all perks, but there is no better, there is no better perk to this job than introducing Secretary Baker. Everyone in this room is familiar with his long and distinguished career of public service. And in these days, in reading the newspaper, we appreciate that even more than ever. But I am going to, since all of you know Secretary Baker, just stick to one thing, and that is he and his family's contribution to our firm. Of course, his great-grandfather was one of the founders of our firm. His grandfather, Captain Baker, was one of the principal architects of Baker Botts in the modern era. His father was an important partner. His son, Jamie, is an important partner. We could call him Mr. Secretary, but today I would just like to introduce you to our partner, James A. Baker.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Andy, for that very nice introduction. And thanks as well to you and everyone else who supported the creation of this new Founders Room and contributed to it. Your collective appreciation and respect for this firm is a legacy that a wonderful legacy that continues to help make this law firm a great one. As Andy did, I would like to also recognize and congratulate 4 others who've done yeoman's work to make this a reality. Bill Kroger, Tracy Hollenberger, Robert Downey, and Mark White, all of whom Andy mentioned. But these folks, ladies and gentlemen, have been the heart and soul of this effort, keeping momentum for it strong and dedicating large amounts of their own volunteer time to it. I want to begin in 1913, although the firm starts a hell of a lot earlier than that, way back in 1840. But in 1913, Hiram Garwood stood before a gathering of his fellow Baker Botts partners to voice a lofty aspiration for this then growing law firm. At the time, the firm was 73 years old, and its lawyer partners were meeting at the Oaks, which was the home of my grandfather, Captain Baker, and he wasn't very far from here. It was only about 3 or 4 or 5 blocks away over on Bremont and Hadley and Baldwin. It's now the site of a lot of multi-family dwellings. But the old oak trees that we used to play in and under when I was a kid and used to go to the Oaks are still there. But in 1913, back in those days, the partners used to have their meetings at the Oaks. On this occasion in 1913, they devised a strategy to transform this firm from just a collection of lawyers into what they said they hoped would become a permanent and self-sustaining institution. I have always thought of Baker Botts, Garwood said, as a permanent institution, just as Harvard and the Bank of England is an institution, with a strength, a life, and an individuality made up from, yet greater than, all or any of its members. Now today it may be self-serving and perhaps more than just a little presumptuous for us to compare this law firm to Harvard or to the Bank of England. Nevertheless, I think Garwood's high-minded prediction has come true. As probably the oldest continuously operating business in the state of Texas, this 177-year-old law firm has indeed become an institution, one whose strength is greater than the sum of its parts. And the nice thing about Baker Botts, as far as I'm concerned, and I spent 22 years as a partner in another law firm here in Houston, in no small part due to the fact that my name was James A. Baker and I couldn't come to work here. But there is no I in Baker Botts. It's only we. Started in 1840 as a 3-lawyer firm in a little town along Buffalo Bayou, a place that the local newspaper described as having, quote, oceans of mud and submerged suburbs, as well as being the, quote, cradle of the mosquito. Baker Botts is now an international law firm with more than 725 lawyers and offices in 15 cities spread across 4 continents. Although the firm has grown in size and stature, I think it's safe to say that it really has remained true to the pillars that have helped it stand out over the decades. As prescribed by the firm creed, which was written more than a century ago, Baker Botts still embodies the traits that have made this law firm a great one. Andy mentioned some of them. I'm going to mention them all. Character, integrity, honesty, promptness, accuracy, resourcefulness, initiative, tact, diplomacy, and ability to produce results. That, I think, ladies and gentlemen, as much as anything else, is the legacy of Baker Botts. In many ways, as I think this Founders Room ably explains, the story of Baker Botts is really the story of Houston, but more than that, it's the story of Texas. As you go through here and see these exhibits, there's so many things that were critical to the development of this city and the state of Texas. Relying on the work of the very finest legal minds, this firm has played a pivotal role in dozens of historic moments, including writing the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure in 1846, spreading the railroad across Texas in the late 1800s, establishing Rice University in 1912, pioneering Texas oil law during the first half of the 20th century, providing the legal legwork in the landmark 1984 Pennzoil versus Texaco court battle, and yes, ramrodding the winning side of the 2000 Florida recount, where a lot of our partners spent 37 days never knowing whether we were going to win it or lose it. Because of my family's ties to Baker Botts, and more importantly, because of the history of excellence that this firm represents, I want to tell you all, each and every one of you, I am extremely proud to be a partner here, and proud that I had an opportunity to get my ticket punched at the very best law firm in Texas. Proud that as a consequence of having been Secretary of State, I was invited to come to the firm. And I want to tell you, if my grandfather, Captain Baker, were with us today, I suspect that he would take a puff on his signature cigar and appreciatively beam as he considered this firm's many accomplishments. Its legal victories, yes, but also the considerable contribution that it and its lawyers have made to our city, to our state, and to the nation. But most importantly, I suspect that grandfather would be even prouder that his firm has risen above the dignity of a specific matter or individual to become a lasting institution worthy of the superb Founders Room that we are dedicating today. Thank you all very much.
1, 2, 3.
All right.